Hey there, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you all. Okay, let's get cracking. My goal here today is to give you the elements that you need to find a rock star that will really create an impact in your business. Okay, and I'll help you get set up with what you need to find that person and the stuff you need to do to set them up so they can really create an impact in your business. Okay, and I really want to find out first before we get into that is why you're here today. Okay, so when we say why you're here today, in terms of this topic of a systems champion, I want to look at, is it that you've got one already and you're looking to fill some gaps? Is it that you already have a systems champion looking to fill some gaps? Or maybe you had a systems champion and you no longer have a systems champion for one reason or another? Or maybe you don't have a systems champion at all, but you're thinking about getting one. So I want you to drop in the chat, of those three options, it's either you had one, so you just put the word had, or you've got one and you've got gaps, so drop that in the chat, gaps, or that you think you might want one, so put the word want. So it's either had, gaps, or want. I'm curious to find out, just so I can get a bit of a balance of where people are at on their journey with systemizing. So we're going to look at what is this systemizing problem that we have, okay? And I really want, it is the most important piece of the puzzle in getting your business systemized. So working out why you really do need a systems champion, learning the main types of systems champion that I've seen, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons and sort of really pull them apart. The core thing is we need to find out what one suits your business, yeah? And we're going to give you a plan to make sure you can find them and set them up, okay? So at the end, I really want to make sure that you get clear on the next steps of systemizing your business, and I can talk to you a little bit about how I help people on that journey. And we'll have some time for questions at the end if we're going well for time. Okay, so what's the problem here? What's the problem? So in terms of the systemizing problem, we're aware that others have got now the day-to-day of their business, right? You've probably seen your peers that have built their business not that dissimilar to yours, and they've managed to get out of it, but you haven't. Okay. Now there's a bit of the grass is always greener here, yeah. And perhaps you're trying to achieve the same goals in your business, like you're seeing these others who've achieved these results, and you're just aspiring to do the same. And I know that systemizing is getting systemizing a big piece of that puzzle. It is very much the missing link here. But so far, I'm guessing, in fact, if you're in this class, is that you haven't worked out how to solve this problem. Yeah? You haven't necessarily cracked this code about how can I get this one thing sorted so I can go do the other stuff. And unfortunately, that lends us to have the fear that you're probably never going to solve the problem. That you're going to be stuck working in your business to some degree, pretty much forever. That you're going to get trapped in this grind. And I know that the people in this business, in this group, I know of several people that have been in there for, I don't think there's anyone who's been in their business for less than a decade for in this room. And that really speaks to this issue that I'm talking about, getting trapped in the grind. Because I've very much been there, but I've implemented systems as a solution, and it's worked really well for me. So we really want to be able to help you get out of your business so you can work on it, right? We want you to be able to find a pathway to getting beyond that grind, yeah? And we want, I know that for me, I really want my business running like a well-oiled machine with, I'm a bit anti-drama, anti-chaos. I'm hoping you're the same. And so I like the idea of having some operational zen, let's say. Some operational zen where things just marry up together. There is no drama. There is no chaos. Everyone's just content and they've got what they need for them to do their day-to-day. And that therefore you end up having a bit of a tribe in your business, and that you trust that tribe. And they look out for you. They look after your business, and that looks after you in turn, right? So really the goal here is to be able to get that freedom of choice. Get that freedom of choice that you can end up choosing if, when, and how much you work. If, when, and how much. And I like to think of it that you can start to choose, again, how you can work on your terms, not just mean the business demands it of you. Does that sound good? Okay, good. All right, you're in the right spot. Now, when it comes to why you need a systems champion, there's really 5 core reasons why you actually need to have a systems champion. And I'm going to call a spade here. Busy business owner is too busy. Busy business owner is too busy. You're never going to have the time. You're just never going to have the time, okay? If you haven't got systemized today, but by today, through your own efforts, is it reasonable to expect that you're not going to start systemizing your business suddenly in the future? It's not like you're going to get struck by lightning and go, I've got a second chance at life, I'm going to go systemize my business. It's not realistic to happen. So you're probably never going to have the time. Fair? I think so. The thing is, you're probably not the best person to do it anyway. You're probably not buried in the day-to-day of how you do what it is that you do for your customer. You might be to a degree when expertise is required, but in terms of what you're doing about the rest of the business, there's probably other team that are better at doing a task than you. So why should you be the one to go create processes around it when they're actually better at doing it anyway? Okay, might need to leave your ego at the door here a little bit. Okay. Third, let's be real. You're probably just going to get distracted. You're probably just going to get distracted with other stuff. I know I'm a bit guilty of bright and shiny object syndrome, and quite frankly, there are things that are a bit more cool to do, a bit more exciting to do than document processes. So, you're probably going to get distracted, and when we think about it, the fourth thing is that you're probably just not that into it anyway. You're probably not that into it. If you were into it, you probably wouldn't have issues systemizing your business. If you longed to systemize and create processes, you probably wouldn't be here listening to me talk, because you would have already done it, because it's the stuff that you love to do, right? So if it's not your favorite thing to do, why on earth would you want to do it? Okay, why on earth would you want to do it? But the final thing, and you're going to love this, we can bring the ego back into the room now. You're too important. You're just too important. Your business desires you in the right place. There's the whole getting the right team on the bus, but getting the right people in the right seats. Yeah, Jim Collins, good to great. So understanding that you have important stuff to do. You shouldn't be caught doing what is realistically some administrative type of work. It's just not you, okay? So in terms of like getting a systems champion, there are a handful of main elements to consider when you might pick one, okay? So free time. Now, for me, in terms of my personal life, and this is probably a little bit pre-kids, pre-wife, dare I say, for me, spare time was motorsport and going up the river and doing water skiing and wakeboarding. That, for me, was what I'd love to do with my spare time whenever I had it. And I know plenty of people that have got like a beautiful boat and this amazing shack, but no free time to use it. Put your hand up if you know someone who has a shack that they should be using more. Yeah. I know plenty of people in that space. It might even be you, right? So that's the thing with people who are into having shacks or going up the river or motorsport or have hobbies that take time. There's the caravan, the shack on wheels. Thank you, Andy. You've got to have the free time to use it. So imagine having a systems champion like that you've got this amazing, talented, trained, hungry systems champion, but no time to get the work done. No spare time, right? I would take someone who has half the skills, but twice the spare time, because they're actually going to be able to get something done, right? If you don't give them the free time, or if the configuration of how they work for you isn't such that they can actually have the free time, that's the end of the game, right? It's just not going to work. Now, a special note here. This is just not proposed free time, theorized free time. This is actual free time. If there's someone who you're thinking that's in a leadership role that might be good for this, leadership is a great way of getting rid of free time. Yeah? Because as soon as they go into a leadership role, suddenly that free time disappears. So please don't think that because you've said that we're going to have some free time for that person, that you're actually going to get free time, okay? Because things change very rapidly. All right, free time's one. Experience and attributes is another. Let's talk about attributes first. The most important, organized. Oh my gosh, they've got to be organized. We're talking about clean desk. Have you been into their car lately? And like you get in their car and it's all clean inside. And not that they washed it yesterday, but that there's not just stuff lying around or things that they haven't finished, everything on the passenger seat. What about if they've got like a work ute or something like that? And, what's their setup like in their workspace? Have you looked at their files and folderization with how they do stuff on their computer? Like, is their desktop full of just junk? Or is everything in its place and they've got their own naming convention and nomenclature about how everything is prescribed? I mean prescribed, right? So having someone who's organized is top of that list. But that's only one element. They've got to have a curiosity. They've got to have a curiosity. When you have people asking, like they love to know why, when you ask them something or you explain something, they'll go, oh, what about if such and such happens? Or they go, oh, is it always like that? Or they go, well, what about when such and such happens? When you can start hearing that chain of questions that are coming out of people's mouths and they're like, yeah, that's the type of thing we want. Because if when you explain something, their answer to everything is just, yeah, okay, I've got it, and they don't want to know any deeper, they're probably not going to be the right person to be a systems champion. Because when we think about what the role of a systems champion is, that person has to do a couple of key things when they're working with your team. They have to be present in the conversation with someone when they're interviewing people. But they also need to have half of their mind on following along where they should be in the conversation regarding what the topic is they're trying to get out of this person's head. So partly they're listening to the person, trying to be in the moment with them and understand what they say. But the other part is they're going, is this person talking about the stuff we need to be hearing? Or are they going off on a tangent or down a rabbit hole that's completely off topic? So you really need to have someone who has the right level of curiosity as to why. Okay. They also need to be a systems thinker. They need to be making their own lists. And when I say making their own lists, we're talking about those type of people that they are the type of people that like to prepare for tomorrow, today. At the end of their work day, without being asked, they'll sit down there and diligently write out the things that they haven't finished today and the things that they need to get done tomorrow, because it makes everything feel right. Everything has its place. You think about when they maybe hand over a task or a project or pass things on, they just think about the types of ways that they do this. Are they just doing it if they get asked to, or are they making sure that they set someone up well with the information that they might need? All of these type of attributes are what you should be thinking about for what you might need in that systems champion. But what about the experience side of things? Okay, so firstly, do they have any experience at all? What was their last job? What type of roles have they had? What's the focus of their resume? Not necessarily what's on their resume in terms of the stuff that they've done. What have they highlighted that their skills are around? Because that will point to the stuff that they kind of like doing, okay? Because they want to show you and evidence to you the stuff that's important to them, because that's the type of job that they want. So if they have, let's say, a resume that's screaming about people skills and innovation and things like that, okay, is that going to be a good fit? Or if it's all about organization and responsibility and things like that, then that might be a better fit here. So what are they doing? What does their last workplace or their last work or jobs tell you about what their skills and their preferences are? But also in terms of their experience, and their attributes, proactive, open-minded, curious, strong communication skills. These are all the normal things, but I mean, wouldn't we want this in every single team member? Probably. Okay, so let's not go and single out that we want someone with a heartbeat who happens to be organized, because that's not necessarily going to tick the box. We want someone who is already like our culture, that is a type of person we'd already hire, but who happens to be really inclined towards the organizational side of things. Now, I got to say, this is where, if anyone's heard me talk about Dave gets probably a bigger head when I talk about him, because I big up him a fair bit. But this is one thing that I think that Dave Jennings has really got right with systemology, in terms of understanding that you don't want to force people to have to do stuff they don't like. If you were a team member and you weren't even remotely interested or focused on creating systems and processes, let's say, okay, we've got Danny in the room. Danny's got a team full of mechanics in the workshop, right? Now, a lot of those people probably love working with their hands day to day. And if Danny went into the workshop and said, "Hey guys, everyone has to write one process a week." Now, I know some businesses who have done that, and it's created some great wins for them. Let me pose to you, what are those processes like? The ones that get written. The ones that get written by people who do not want to do this thing. Do you think they're really consistent? Do you think they're well explained? Do you think they balance out the type of query with what happens all the time? Probably not. So when we're thinking about desire, you don't want to have to force people to do the stuff that they hate. Okay? That's not going to create a very good workplace, is it? So I'm going to give you an example in terms of finding people who have the desire. There was a customer of mine who she managed to find a team member when she was recruiting specifically for a systems champion. She found someone who read systemology for fun in their personal life, for fun. They've gone to the bookshop and gone, you know what? Excuse me, this is what I want to read for fun. Right. Now, I might be a little bit different, right? It's the way I'm inclined. However, it's not normal. It's just not normal to have someone who might be like that. Another client had found a team member, and they desperately need a systems champion. They put off getting one for a long time until I finally twisted their arm. And they found someone who worked for a HSBC, a really big international bank, and they were setting up a location in a new country. And this person spent, I think it was 9 months going through and amending compliance documentation to the rules of the new country. Who thinks that's fun? She loved it. Oh my gosh, she was telling me about this. She was waxing lyrical about, she got to do this. It was great because of this. And you could see her heart was so in it, right? Wouldn't you want someone like that? Don't go asking people who love being creative or, they love speaking to customers all day, every day, and that's just the reason why they work for you. Don't ask them to go and systemize your business for you. It won't work very well, okay? It won't work very well. Okay, next. So we're in the modern day and age, right? AI is here, and it's making the journey of systemizing your business so much easier, so much easier. I'm old enough to know what it was like back in the deep dark days. Was it 2022 before AI? It was so long ago. Everything was black and white. I try and describe to my kids that everything in the olden days was actually black and white. They don't believe me. There is so much software and modern workflows involved in systemizing that if you're a laggard, it's not going to be a great fit. Okay. If you're struggling to deal with how to export this and import this and upload this, it's not like it's very complex, but you need to be au fait with it. You really need to be comfortable with this type of stuff for it to work. Because if you're having maybe these other attributes that we've been talking about, and this is a weak point, then that may not be too bad. However, if this stresses someone, if this is putting someone right outside their comfort zone, they're probably not going to be the best person for you. But one of the things that I'm going to focus on in a few minutes is about the opportunities that arise from having a good systems champion beyond just the systemization of your business. Now, when we think about what is it that the person is going to, this systems champion is going to be like in our business after doing this stuff for a couple of years, it is amazing what they can achieve within the business beyond systemizing. Who better to understand where the opportunities are to do things like implement AI into your business, right? You think about what that systems champion has been doing for years. If they've been working in the business with you, they have their finger in every single pie about the marketing and the sales and the operations. They understand the fabric of how your business was woven together. They understand best, even more than you potentially, about where the opportunities might be because they can see the inefficiencies. That's just one of the things that is a great opportunity out of someone who's a systems champion who does some of the long road with you. So in terms of trying to find this person, if you're finding that they're a tech laggard, that's going to be a barrier to them there being a good systems champion. Okay. Now, finally, I like to think of this as it's not you, it's me. What if you had a team member that had the free time? We talked about this being a challenge earlier. The right attributes, the desire, the tech savviness, but you just couldn't invest enough time. You just couldn't invest enough time in them. That they had all these things, they're there ready to go, but you're too busy. And the style of team member that you've happened to choose just doesn't fit because you can't outlay that management investment of time to get that person ramped up. So if you find the person with all the right attributes, but you can't invest enough of them, think for a moment. What's their experience like of being a systems champion? Terrible. Terrible. Okay? So you really need to consider how much you, as the leaders in the business, can actually invest. Think about how much they can actually invest in building up the systems champion and on-ramping them so they can really hit the ground running, okay? So you can do them justice in terms of all the skills and attributes that they really want to actually deploy in your business. I'm going to go through and explain out for each of the different 4 types of person there, or the types of systems champion, what are the different attributes we consider, and I'm going to help you go through and grade for your business which it is that you feel is the best fit, okay? So I want you to first think about what is the game that you're playing. Are you playing a short game or a long game? You know, is it the current priorities for you that outweigh the future priorities, or are you in a good space right now that you'd much rather focus on building up for the future? And the thing is, there is no real right or wrong to this. It's just what suits your situation. So let's think about the short game. What is the short-term win that you might need to achieve such that you'd shift your bias to focus on getting someone who can start quickly? You need to start weighing up what are the things that you might be looking for in terms of short-term wins. But let's have a look about what you might need in terms of long-term wins. I mentioned before, are you in a stable place now? That maybe your free time is not that heavily impacted. Maybe the profitability of the company is in a healthy place, and you're just simply looking to build a sustainable, scaled operation. That's obviously long game focus. What about if for you, it's all about getting your business under management? The golden rule about when you sell a business, there are two. One, make sure it makes lots of money, obvious. And two, have it under management, bona fide under management, if you want to get the highest profit multiple. So having it under management, and that might be so you can keep it longer term and have that more extra free time. But for me, it was actually about moving on to another interest. I was in the accommodation industry. I was never passionate about that industry. And so I wanted to get out of it. And one of the things that was driving me was that I wanted to pursue new interests because it just wasn't my wheelhouse. So in terms of what this long game might be for you, is it that you want to create that long-term stability? You want to increase the saleability of the business? Maybe it's just so you can have that freedom of choice and you don't necessarily know what you might do with that 40 hours of free time. Again, there is no right or wrong answer, but there's a really important point here, which is that the systems champion that you have today, or the systems champion that you get soon, is not necessarily going to be the only systems champion you have. And this is not a bad thing. Don't feel like this is like, oh, they're going to leave. No, it's more so that the type of systems champion that you train up in your company can become, as I alluded to before, so valuable that it's almost a disservice to the business to just keep them in that role, because they become so knowledgeable about your business and so wise that it makes sense. Systems champions often end up in leadership because they get so much context about how the business runs. So in terms of when we're talking about there is no right about, thinking about this way or playing the short game or playing the long game, don't think by just committing to what you're committing to right here that suddenly you have to stick to it. This is the type of thing I'm doing and this is the way I have to go. Okay? So think about what's the situation that suits where you're at right now and choose that style of systems champion. Okay. So now that we've focused on, I guess, where every type sits along the scale, I want to focus more deeply on each type, and I'm going to get you to start making some choices around what's the right fit for your business. Okay? So, number one, this one here, up the top right, this is an existing team member. Now, it seems like the easiest option. I get it. What if I could just hand this project to my right-hand person? Done. Finished. I'm good. I'm golden, right? That's the perfect solution. The thing is, and I know this is very true for probably a couple of people in this session, is your industry might be short or extremely short on skilled workers. So an existing team member, they are well and truly the quickest starter, the absolute quickest starter for you. They're also the highest cost. And as I brought up very early on, they may not be the highest cost in terms of dollars and cents, in terms of how much you're having to outlay for that particular person. What about the opportunity cost? Okay, does everyone know what opportunity cost is here? I know it's not necessarily all that common in business, but it's like, what else could that person be doing? In some instances, it might be that they have a high degree of technical skill. And if you take them away from that, you need to plug that with someone else. And you might not have someone else to plug their spot. Or what if that person is really focused on helping to develop the business? Because they've got so much skill and understanding about how you do stuff that if you're to pull them away, you're actually going to slow down the business development in other areas. So there's a huge opportunity cost for really high-skilled team members to be deployed like this. And also, they have the lowest level of free time. I can't express this enough. Who wants to have a holiday house that you don't get to use because you don't have the free time? So please don't do this when choosing a systems champion. The thing is, I actually only talk about there being 3 different choices of systems champion. Because guess what? This is not one. This is not who you want to be hiring or who you want to be selecting. That's a problem, right? Because they have the highest level of relevant experience. Their tech savviness, look, it's going to be dependent on the person. their desire, again, dependent on the person. And when we talked about management time investment, you're probably going to have to spend the least amount of time invested in them. The next type, we call them the apprentice. The apprentice. So in terms of the apprentice, what we're really thinking about is someone younger or more fresh in your company. They don't need to be a literal apprentice. So in terms of the apprentice is someone who's relatively fresh to you and to your teams. They are already a team member in your business, okay? And they have, I guess they're a good egg, right? They're a good egg. I have no idea if this phrasing works outside of Australia, but you know that they've got a good head on their shoulders, that they have all the types of attributes that we've talked about, and you can already start to see that you really like that team member because of the way they conduct themselves, and that they do have these other attributes, but you see them having a values alignment with your team, and you see them potentially at some point having management potential. Now that might be years down the track, but you just start to see some cues and clues that they're a keeper for your business, and you want to see how much they might be able to do with you. So in terms of what are their attributes? They are a pretty quick starter, okay? Medium to high cost, and they have a potentially workable level of free time. Some degree of relevant experience, and if they're a bit younger, the tech savviness is probably pretty likely. Yeah. Again, the desire very much person dependent, and there will be some level of management investment required. But this, when we go back to that short game versus long game, this is very much a long game focus. So let's look at the next type. Now, I often blur the part-timer with actually being the return to work mum, because return to work mums are one of the most underutilized, overly skilled resources we have available to us that is ready and waiting to be tapped into. And an example of this was actually a lady, Andrea. Andrea's husband, Doug, had a family business that he'd been involved in for many decades. And Andrea is not necessarily a normal systems champion. Andrea was taking a sabbatical from her job, and so she was just helping out for, I think it was a day a week at her husband's business. I think she'd had a kid or two, and had just been maybe overworked. But for context, Andrea was a strategist at a C-suite level. Now, her skills to take into that business in terms of what she was able to achieve for systemizing was amazing. Okay. Now, I'm not saying the person that you might find to help out is going to have that high level of skill in terms of, probably, I'm assuming it was a couple of decades of really high level strategy understanding at a C-suite level. You might find someone who has just got the right attributes and only needs 10 hours a week. That might be a perfect fit for your business. It might be that their second kids just started back at school and they're just looking for a little bit extra. And we all know what having kids at school is like, snotty noses and things like that, that at the last minute, it might be that, a kid's sick, I can't come to work today. It's part of the course, right? But let's think about the role of a systems champion. Do they absolutely have to be there on Tuesday at 10 p.m. for a particular thing? No, not at all. If it's like, kid's sick today, no worries, we'll catch you next week. You pay them by the hour. They work when it suits for them and also for the team in terms of when we're going to be picking their brain. Okay, this is a really good intermediary option for you about getting some momentum with systemizing. It's not just the part-time mum, but a great other resource is those who might be semi-retired, and they're just looking to do something extra because they like using their brain. They've even been running a business and they're sort of getting a bit bored after sort of finishing working, and they want to do something extra, but they don't want to have commitments. They want to have flexible time. They want to be able to go and travel and, be able to go away for a month or two and come back and their work still be there. So that might be a perfect fit for you. Maybe you only want 6, 7, 8 months over a whole year worth of engagement by a systems champion to keep that momentum building. So if we think about the different attributes that a part-timer, they are a slower starter, but it is a little bit dependent on the type of person, the type of background they've got. They might even be a past employee. They might even be a past employee who's moved on to other things. I currently have a past employee working for me at the moment. She works full-time elsewhere, but she just likes to get a little bit of extra income, and her brain works in a particular way that she likes to do, that type of documentation role, and that's why we still work together. They're a bit of a moderate cost, but the great thing is that they're a scalable cost. You can scale it to the speed that you want to start solving the problem, and very, very flexible in terms of free time. Very flexible. And you'd be obviously targeting people who've got some degree of relevant experience, and obviously tech savviness is going to be dependent on the person. Desire, same thing again. And I won't lie, there is a moderate management time investment here, because there is the framing out about what the role is and how it fits in. And because it's a little bit flexible, that will chop and change depending on how much you ramp that person up. But I will say, and this is not a hard and fast rule, it is a shorter game focus. Because when I talk about building up someone like the apprentice, that style of model, is they can have a really long-term impact on your business, because they might be running your business in 5 years. Who knows, right? And whereas maybe the part-time and the return to work mum, they might want to get more hours, and they might be like, hand in glove and continue on into a role. But if they're potentially semi-retired, then it might be over and done with after a couple of years, and you've got what you need and they've got what they need. So let's now talk about the fourth type, which is a virtual assistant. So when we go back to this model over here, we've gone through, this is the apprentice, this is the part-timer, and right down here, we have the lowest cost, also the lowest speed to result, the most management time investment, but also they've got the most free time. So what I want to frame out here is, when I'm talking about VAs in this sense, I'm talking about new to you VAs, not an established team. Existing team is existing team. And if you happen to have remote team members working as existing team members that you can shift their focus, it is absolutely more affordable. There is still that opportunity cost of you taking a skilled person away from their job and you're giving them a different responsibility. But when we're talking about new virtual assistants here, I'm really focusing on what it's like getting a new to you virtual assistant up and going from scratch. So when we're thinking about a virtual assistant, and again, a new to you virtual assistant, these are the different attributes I see. They are the slowest starter of the lot, but they are very much the lowest cost as well. And the amount of free time, simply by nature of they are the lowest cost, is you can afford to throw more hours at the problem, okay? You can throw more hours at the problem and go, well, I can get them trained up well. I don't need to rush anything, because I can get, more bang for buck out of working with that person. Generally, they will have a lot higher level of tech savviness, because if they're working from home or they're working from a remote workplace in a different country, I guarantee you they're going to be right around the different apps and tools that they need to be able to interact with the outside world that's not right next to them, okay? The desire, it will be person dependent. You might have a VA who's great with the creative side of things and wants to be a graphic designer, or you might have someone who loves doing, getting to the minutiae of stuff. It is going to be, person dependent, like everyone else we've talked about. And there is, as I said, the highest level of management time. But the thing is, this is a big time win for the longer game focus, if that's what you're up for. If you can deploy a team member at a really proportional, you're talking about like a fifth of the cost of working with someone locally into your business, and they can do the same type of stuff as anyone else, because I don't like to talk about VAs like they're just sitting on the computer screen on the other side of the planet. It's more so that they are just a team member who's working in a different location. So in terms of how you're interacting with your remote team, the way in which you're interacting is just lending itself to opportunities to get more and more systemized. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit negative for a very short period of time. Do I have your permission to do that? Okay, I want to focus for a moment on why people quit when it comes to systemizing. When people, I know like you're here because you see the value in systemizing and you really want to have the business firing on all cylinders. But, when people quit because they're not willing to invest properly, there are dollars in the bank reasons and time in your calendar reasons why you might want to systemize. But making sure you set up your systems champion first is absolutely critical. Finding the right one, making sure that you have the configuration in your business to be able to get them set up like you need. In terms of like, generally team resistance can be a big reason why you stop getting systemized. And having the systems champion deployed will help that a lot. But when it comes to the reasons why you need to set them up well, is you're shifting focus to grow and set up a systems champion. That's taking time out of your day and time out of your week from what you could be focusing on other things. So we want to try and avoid these reasons about why it might fail by you not getting the right type of person and configuring them in the right way. Because what I don't want for you is for you to feel like this is a failed project. A failed project because I found someone, they didn't work out, it's not for me. I don't get to have a systemized business because I tried it and it didn't work. I don't want for that to be what it's like for you. So there's a lot of ways that things can go wrong. So let's focus on how you're going to set your team members up. So I haven't left much time for this because it's actually really simple. Hire the right one. Please hire the right one. So if you're looking beyond your current team members, and you're an internal team, you don't need to go to market, then it's a lot quicker and easier. But the stuff that we talk about in a minute, you want to filter through your existing team members to make sure it's still a fit. If you're looking for VAs, somewhere like onlinejobs.ph, Fiverr, Upwork, those are the first places you should start. If you're looking for a return to work mom or someone who's recently retired, family and friends, Facebook groups, schools, like school pickups and school drop-offs, great place to look for a part-timer, okay? But if you're looking to recruit, you're going to need these things. You're going to need an advert to tell them what you're looking for. You're going to need a position description to state what they're going to be doing. You need to have a way of recruiting them and maybe in a form where people can just, tell you the stuff that they need to tell you so you can get the right information from them. You're going to need to have some trial tasks so you can actually find out whether they're going to be any good at this or not. You're going to want to have a bunch of questions when you interview them that are really fit for purpose, that suit that type of role. And you're going to have a bit of a scorecard. I like to have a scorecard when I interview people so I can sort of gather my thoughts about whether they're a yay or a nay and for what reason. What's next? Set them up. Set them up so once they start, they can be successful. So you want to teach them why systems, okay? Help them understand why systems, because it helps when people are sick. It makes it easy to train people. There's less messaging from people when they're like after hours because someone else needed to get a question answered. It's easy to upskill people. It's easy to create better coordination and cooperation between the team. Helping your systems champion know why systems, make sure that they can help ensure the team know why systems. This is your delegated authority on systemizing your business. So you need to impart this information to them so they can impart it to your team. Next, you need to train them. Give them a systemology book. Give them access. We call it the BSA, Business Systems Accelerator, is the platform we use in systemology for training. And there's a number of different programs that we run and ways that I work with people to help people do this quickly and to give more guidance, support, and accountability. You need to give them the resources. We've already talked about time. That's a massive one, okay? Giving them the authority. You need to let people know why this is important, okay? You need to empower them so the person actually gets why it's important to you that they do well systemizing your business, okay? And you need to make a plan. You need to make a plan in terms of what's the stuff that they're going to focus on in terms of systemizing first. We talk about the critical client flow and we talk about what the things are in terms of the system for systemizing, about how you get systemized. So in terms of the ways I help people, rather than talk about that, what I thought would be more useful for you is understanding what an implementation roadmap looks like. I've spent a whole bunch of time with David Jennings, in particular over the last 6 months, and because I probably worked with more businesses than any other systemologist, and I've ran my own business and seen inside a lot of other people's, we've had an opportunity to really pick apart what it is that is the most effective pathway to get a business systemized. What are all the common elements? What are the hidden ones? And what's the common pathway versus what are the exceptions? And so what I'm going to offer is that if people want to sit down with me and go through what an implementation roadmap looks like for their business, I'm happy to have a 30-minute session with you to work through what that roadmap is, to help you understand each what the elements are, but also to see how it actually works for your business so you can come away with a really clear plan about what's the next logical step that I need to implement into my business. So in summary, the key to getting your business systemized is getting it off your plate. Yeah? Getting the right systems champion for your business. That's what this is important. That's what the most important thing is. Empowering them and setting them up for success and giving them training is what you have to do if you want this to be a win for you. Okay? Because the investment will pay itself back in multiples, in both dollars and time in your calendar. Okay? It's been great getting the engagement from everyone. I really appreciate you jumping on today, and I hope this really helped you see exactly the things that you need to do, and you've got that clear prioritized list of who you're going to be looking for as a systems champion, such that you can go and use the resources that are going to be sent out after this meeting, and you can go and implement straight away. Because that's what I want, is for you to implement straight away. No excuses. Awesome. Excellent. Thanks so much, everyone, for jumping in. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Excellent. And I'll see you sometime soon. Okay. Thank you. See ya. Bye.